am here with Jim Lockhart. Also, keep in mind he was a former regulator of finance regulator of Fannie and Freddie, so lots to talk about. Jim, I want to start with Bob Toll earlier said we're kind of about 6 to 9 months off the bottom when it comes to housing. He was much more upbeat than most. You're not so upbeat, though, are you?
Well, I hope he's right. Let's put it that way. We all hope he's right. Well, I'm as concerned that we are bouncing along the bottom, and there's a big supply of houses out there. There's a potential for more foreclosures. We need to make this HAMP program work, the Home Affordable Modification Program. We need to be more aggressive in writing down mortgages and reducing principals to keep people in their houses.
And that's bottom line. We need to keep people in their homes at this point.
There could be another spike up in foreclosures unless we're more aggressive than we have been.
How big a spike in your view?
It could be pretty big. I mean, we have had, because of the HAMP program, an artificial slowdown in foreclosures. And if the HAMP program doesn't work as well as we hope it will work, it could be a pretty big spike.
All right, to me that says, and that's problematic for a lot of the financial firms, you see in terms of some of those banks, smaller players, the regionals, that's going to be problematic and we're going to see some closings there?
Well, for the smaller banks, the regionals, it's probably less residential real estate to the problem. It's more commercial. And, I don't think we're bumping along the bottom with commercial yet. I think we're still on the way down with commercial. So that has to be a concern with smaller banks, yes.
Let me ask you, can you give me any kind of perspective when it comes to commercial? We've known what the housing downturn felt like, the housing slump. We've lived it. What about commercial? Will it be as bad?
Well, again, I like to be optimistic and say no. It's hard to say, but I think there's certainly, we were overbuilt in many areas, and certainly, condos in some parts of the country. Retail is another area that's somewhat troubled. So it could be very difficult for a time being.
Now, you work for the company, W.L. Ross & Company, run by Wilbur Ross. He loves distressed assets, whether it's the auto sector. He's bought some of those mortgage servicers. I'm curious, do you guys see this, though, as a tremendous buying opportunity in terms of distressed assets?
Well, we're certainly looking at distressed assets. We have a mortgage recovery fund, which is a PPIP fund. We have a mortgage servicer, we have part of a bank, and we're continuing to look at buying assets at the right price.
Looking, but are you buying too? Are you anticipating buying soon or a lot in the next, let's say, 6 months?
We're anticipating putting our money to work pretty quickly in financial services companies, and we're being pretty selective when it comes to mortgages.
What specifically are you being selective about? What are you looking just?
Well, I mean, we're concerned that there could be another downward move in the housing market, so we're not putting all the money to work right away.
I want to ask you about Fannie and Freddie, since you were the finance regulator for Fannie and Freddie a few years ago. Let me ask you, what is the future? I mean, I think you said earlier on one of the panels that Fannie and Freddie are the only game in town, so we need to have a Fannie and Freddie in your view?
Well, at the moment, they're buying about 75% of the mortgages, and the other 25% is being bought by FHA. So between them, the government or quasi-government is the only game in town. We need to get the private sector back into the mortgage market. Next year, the administration is going to be introducing some legislation, and I think part of that legislation has to be to try to get the private sector back into the mortgage market.
What's the future, though, for Fannie and Freddie? There's some suggestions out there, and the administration is supposed to be looking at stuff, either privatize, break them down, make them smaller. What do you think is the best future route for Fannie and Freddie?
Well, the worst one is to nationalize them, which hopefully they do not. We don't need more government involvement in the mortgage market. The best one would be to try to move them as far to the private sector as we can. It may take some government involvement because the government's been so involved in the mortgage market.
Let me ask you, you do say the government's been so involved. We know that, how much they've been involved in the mortgage market. Got 20 seconds left here. When they stop the buying, what happens? Is that the big question? We don't know. Does the market potentially fall apart here?
Well, I don't think it'll fall apart, but we could certainly see mortgage rates start to move up again. But overall interest rates are so low that, the mortgage rates are probably a little artificially low, but I don't see a major move up with mortgage rates.
A year from now, though, you think it'll be even more upbeat? Just quickly.
I hope to be more upbeat a year from now.
We shall see. All right, Jim.
Certainly more upbeat than I was last year at this time.
All right, Jim Lockhart, thank you so much. Jim Lockhart, he's Vice Chairman of W.L. Ross & Company.